Long time no see, YouTube. What's up? This is your girl Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen, to all of my returning subscribers. However, if this is your first time joining me on today, be sure to hit that subscribe button because you know you want to. Also, if you're interested in booking your very own natal chart reading, go ahead and contact me at astrowerld@gmail.com and we can go ahead and get you squared away on today. So today, I'm coming to you guys with yet another celebrity birth chart reading. This is a repeat, kind of, sort of, because I did do a reading on Kenya Moore. However, in light of this most recent episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, I wanted to go back and dig into her chart as it pertains to some of the findings or observations that have come about due to that episode, as well as getting further into her chemistry with her husband, Mark Daly, which I believe I kind of did in my initial reading. So if you can find that one, I believe it was the mashup that I did with Stacey Dash. So if you want to go check that one out, feel free. However, I did want to go back and discuss a few things because I was watching the show and it was kind of interesting. So everybody is aware, or everybody is at least talking about this last episode of Real Housewives, where for the very first time we got a chance to see Mark Daly and Kenya Moore interact with one another, if that's what you want to call it, on screen on the actual show. And they were in the kitchen. Kenya wanted to cook breakfast for her man. And it was this really awkward, cringe-worthy scene where Mark was really, it looked like he did not want to engage with her. Okay, like he was dreading talking to her, trying to avoid having direct conversation with her. He was being very rude and pompous, and the chemistry was very weird. And towards the end of the scene, she had said something very, very interesting that I wanted to touch on today, which was she turned to Mark and asked him, who's number one, me or Brooklyn? And I think that's her daughter's name, Brooklyn. Basically asking him to choose who was better between she or her daughter. And she even admitted to feeling like she had to compete with her daughter, which is very, 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 very problematic. That's just very problematic, and I see some indicators of that in her chart. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So starting with Kenya Moore, okay, Kenya was born on January the 24th, 1971 in Detroit, Michigan. So as I was stating in the previous video, Kenya is a Leo South Node, and the weird thing about that is a lot of Leo South Node individuals tend to have very much like karmic past life debt or issues that'll manifest as problems in this lifetime with men and women. So women who have Leo South Nodes often struggle keeping a relationship, or having healthy relationships with men, and even can struggle either conceiving children, which in Kenya's case is true for her, or they can struggle raising their children, which, that's yet to be seen. The baby is very small. However, Leo is also the sign of competition. So even with that being said, this whole sense of feeling like she has to compete with her child can very much be summed up with that Leo South Node as well. However, there are a lot of other indicators of Kenya still being a pretty good mom. So, for instance, her son is forming a sextile to her Jupiter in Sagittarius, which absolutely can produce a situation to where her daughter is a blessing. This could even make her daughter very well traveled in the future. Same thing with Kenya's son sextiling her Neptune. Taking her overseas with her, but also Kenya being a very strong sense of support for her daughter. This could also point towards her spoiling her, especially as it pertains to all of the luxuries and the riches that life has to offer, financially, things of that nature, making sure she has a very well-rounded cultural or even culturally rich experience. Her son is forming a sextile to her Mars as well, in Sagittarius, which further kind of reinforces this thing of her being very multicultural. So I'm wondering if, Kenya, I don't know how that's gonna work. Like if she's gonna take her to different places, or maybe she'll settle down in a community where they have a different variety of people, and she ends up, just having this very like dynamic, well-rounded experience. She could also be very spiritually like ingrained a lot of sense, or a very strong sense rather, of spirituality in Brooklyn. So I mean, I do see her being a good mom, but nonetheless, that Leo South Node can absolutely produce competition, you know, uh, between a mother and her kids, or just in general difficulties in the area of children. But, shout out to Kenya. Although, as it pertains to her relationship with Mark, it's rather unfortunate. So let me pull up Mark's chart. Okay, Mark Daly, which, like I said, I can't remember if I got into this on the first reading, but we're going to do it today. Okay. He was born on August 12th, 1970 in New York. And he's actually a Leo sun, making his sun conjoined to Kenya's South Node, which, like I always say, is a synastry nightmare. Okay. And it could create a situation to where he is absolutely this, I don't want to say narcissist because I feel like that word is overused, but for lack of a better word, let's just say self-centered. He could be very bossy. It could also like being a tyrant. And I see that actually throughout his chart as well, further supported. But, and it could create a situation to where even though their relationship feels faded and it feels like they're meant to be, and Kia might feel like they connect on a lot of levels because they could very well have a past life connection with his son, dang near sitting on top of her South Node. They probably did have some type of past life relationship. But in this lifetime, he's going to represent more of what she needs to distance herself from, even to where she's competing, be it with her daughter or anyone else, for his affection, for his heart. Leo governs the heart, where she has to compete for his heart. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. Now, Mark, like I said, his sun is at the 19th degree of Leo. He's a Sagittarius moon. Now, one of the first things that stuck out to me was the fact that his Venus, which is at the 4th degree of Libra, is conjoined to his Uranus, which absolutely could produce a person who is rather cold towards women, cold towards their partners, which, rewind and take a look back at the clip where he barely wanted to engage with a woman. So, or he could be fake, because Venus in Libra is very much like a lover boy, a man who knows all of the right things to say. They kind of know women inside and out. So maybe he kind of tapped into that energy until a certain point. But that Venus conjoined to Uranus can make him very distant and like emotionally, not in a traditional sense, like not really emotionally open or available. He can be kind of emotionally closed off to women. But it could also make him rather disloyal. And I mean, you could look at that as like a philanderer or however else you want to take that. Also, I couldn't help but notice that his Venus is also squaring forming an opposition to his Chiron, which is at the 10th degree of Aries, which absolutely denotes dysfunctional relationships with women. And it can also produce a situation to where a lot of his relationships with women lack reciprocity. So these are very one-sided relationships that he tends to engage in. And based off of the very little bit that we've seen, I would say in this situation, Kenya is the doormat. He attracts women who are doormats, women who he can easily control. I also feel like he's very controlling, and I also feel like he's very selfish with this opposition to this Chiron in Aries, and also very willful about it, to where he feels like he's the exception to the rule. He should be able to do what he wants in a relationship because he feels like it. You know what I'm saying? And just very much pig-headed, can be very egotistical, and I would even say a bit of a misogynist in a way, as far as the way he interacts with women and what he expects of a woman. And that's also very indicative of his Leo sun too. And this definitely is consistent with what Kenya said on the show when she was like, oh, well, he doesn't care if this, that, and the third is going on in my life. He just wants to know, where are the eggs? And yeah, his Venus is forming a quincunx to his Pisces North Node. So yes, he's absolutely controlling with women. He wants a doormat, y'all. He wants a woman that he can tell to jump, and she just asks how high, basically. And his Jupiter's at the 29th degree of Libra. That right there could even point towards, I would not be surprised if he was dealing with another woman, or if there were other women in the picture, and that being a part of the reason why he was so hell-bent on engaging in this long-distance relationship with Kenya. Because even to the point where she would ask if he is making any plans on scouting restaurants in Atlanta, and, plans on them getting together and doing this, that, and the third. And it was like, he literally ignored her. Like, bitch, go away. There's no pressing sense of urgency to really be in the same space in the same time with Kenya. And with this planetary placement, I would not be surprised if it has something to do with, like, literally other women, but I mean, that is what it is. His sun is conjoined to his Mars. I wonder if he has a lot of kids. Y'all drop down in the comment section, let me know, because that could produce a person with a lot of kids. But he could also be very much a businessman too, with that Leo energy. That definitely is indicative of him being like this quote unquote boss, CEO, mogul guy who owns his own restaurant. And actually his Saturn at the 22nd degree of Taurus points to that restaurant business as well. However, and this is why I said quote unquote businessman, his Sun and Mars are squaring his Saturn in Taurus, which absolutely points towards him having some type of financial issues, extreme financial issues, to where, like, I don't know if this man is owing like money or like loans. Like, I don't, y'all drop down in the comment section, fill me in on the backstory on that. But like, he could have some major issues in the financial department. So all isn't what it appears to be as it pertains to his business. I'll just put it like that. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, with his Sun conjoined to Kenya's Leo South Node, I'm also even wondering if his relationship with Kenya was literally the result of him just wanting to have children. Like, him just wanting to have children with her. Like, not really being invested in her. He just wants kids. I mean, that's very much, that's very Leo Sun conjoined to Mars. So I don't know. That's a very strong possibility. But then also his Neptune is at the 28th degree of Scorpio. This man has some, well, number one, that could absolutely reinforce him having hella debt. He might be in trouble with the IRS. But you could also look at that as him having a lot of secrets, dark secrets, even secrets pertaining to his sex life, sexuality, And it doesn't help that his Venus is conjoined to his Uranus, which, I mean, could create a disinterest in women altogether. But let me stop, because everybody, are you trying to make everybody gay? Why are you trying to make people gay? Look, I'm going to just shut the fuck up. But y'all can piece it together if that's what y'all want to do. So there's that. Also, with his South Node at the 3rd degree of Virgo, you can even look at that as him being critical of Kenya's cooking. Virgo South Nodes are hypercritical anyway. They are also the lesser known sign of food, short order cooking. Yeah, that could absolutely be somebody who tastes a person's food and is like, ugh, you call this food, this disgusting. According to him, she probably can't do anything right. So, and his Mercury is at the 16th degree of Virgo. Yes, he's very, very picky, very hypercritical, always, fault finding, rarely ever satisfied. And he could even have the tendency to compare her to other women. I even wouldn't be surprised with that, with his Venus at that 4th degree of Libra. So, I mean, it's rather unfortunate, but it's a situation that Kenya placed herself in, really. It's like, girl, I don't know what you expected. Also, with his Juno at the 14th degree of Taurus, and it's squaring his Mars, y'all, I'm wondering if he's with Kenya for financial reasons. Like I said, I know on the surface it might seem one way given that he does have his own business, but I'm definitely wondering if he's with her for financial reasons. You could also look at his Juno in Taurus as his attraction to women being very superficial. So him wanting arm candy over actually forging a real emotional connection with a significant other. Same goes for his Venus in Libra, and it's also very much, it supports a lot of that Leo energy in his chart as well. So like everything being about what looks good and what's appealing to the public, but behind the scenes it could be a completely different story, and their synastry is very interesting too, as his Mercury is squaring her Venus, which is at the 16th degree of Sagittarius, which further reinforces him being just so fucking, I would even say just downright mean, like hypercritical, picking her apart. You could even look at that as him cutting her down. You could even look at that as him criticizing her cooking as well, because Venus does deal with food. So him dimming a lot of her optimism, just being an asshole, really. And there are quite a few of their synastry aspects that echo some of the aspects I found in his chart, which, for instance, his Venus is forming an opposition to her Chiron, which further, once again, reinforces that theme of one-sided relationships, selfishness, downright just meanness, and a very dysfunctional way of relating to one another. Mainly him with her. Yes, his Neptune is conjoined to her Jupiter, y'all. And with his Neptune at that 28th degree, as I stated earlier, of Scorpio, this is some money involved in this relationship. There just is. There is. And you could also look at that as him going behind her back, doing things kind of without her knowing. And this could be things from, like I said, this could include money, but it also could include cheating, philandering, whatever you want to call it. It's some shady shit going on in this relationship, and I'm not digging it. His Neptune conjoined the Kenya's Mars, once again reinforcing this theme of deception, of her not even really knowing who she's dealing with for real. Kenya, darling. And then also his Mars squaring her Saturn in Taurus, once again echoing that aspect in his chart, which could further reinforce him either using her for money. I wouldn't even be surprised if he used her for a kid. So, either way it goes, there are hidden motives on his part. Absolutely. 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 And it's just rather unfortunate. So, yeah. That concludes my video. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this reading and what do you think of that relationship. Okay, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And as always, until the next video, I holla.